What if the music at a festival was so good it was deadly? What if the beat was so irresistible it commanded not just your joy, but your very life? What if you danced until your feet were raw, until your heart gave out, until there was nothing left of you but a puppet for the rhythm? This is not a story about celebration. This is a warning from the old times. A warning about the poison that can hide in a beautiful sound. A warning about a man whose hunger for greatness led him to make a deal that would cost his entire village their sanity, their bodies, and their souls. In a village nestled between the thick, whispering jungle and a slow, brown river, lived a young man named Kwame. Kwame was a drummer. But not just any drummer. He was good. He was technically skilled, his hands could create complex polyrhythms that made the elders nod in approval. But in his heart, Kwame was not satisfied. He wanted to be more than good. He wanted to be legendary. He wanted to be the name on everyone's lips, from the great river to the distant mountains. He burned with a fire of ambition that the simple praise of his villagers could never quench. You see, the annual New Yam festival was approaching. It was the biggest event of the year. Drummers from all the surrounding clans would come to compete. The winner would earn not just a prize of goats and fine cloth, but eternal respect. Kwame would stare into his cooking fire at night, the flames reflecting in his desperate eyes, imagining that respect. He craved it like water. His own drum, carved by his grandfather, felt ordinary. It had a good voice, an honest voice. But Kwame did not want honesty. He wanted magic. One evening, consumed by frustration, he went to the one person everyone else in the village avoided, Old Man Kofi, who lived on the outskirts, near the burial grounds. Kofi was said to know things that were best left unknown. Kwame found the old man sitting under a skeletal, ancient baobab tree. "Old man," Kwame began, his voice trembling slightly. "I need a drum that can make the gods themselves weep with joy. I need a sound that has never been heard before." Old Man Kofi looked at Kwame, his eyes like cloudy pools of water. He saw the ambition burning there, a bright, dangerous flame. "Child," Kofi rasped, "there are drums that speak to the legs. There are drums that speak to the heart. And then, there are drums that speak to the spirit. But be warned. Some spirits do not like to be disturbed. Some rhythms are not meant for the world of the living. What you seek has a price. I will pay any price." Kwame declared, his desperation silencing the old man's wisdom. Kofi sighed, a sound like dry leaves scraping against stone. He led Kwame deep into a part of the jungle where the sunlight struggled to reach the ground. The air was thick and still. In a small, dark clearing, there stood a single, twisted tree, black as midnight. From its trunk, Kofi carefully carved a new drum. He stretched a skin over it, a skin that looked strangely taut and smooth, almost human. He handed the drum to Kwame. It was cold to the touch. This drum holds the rhythm of the earth, the dancing spirit, Kofi whispered. It will give you what you want. But you must never, ever play the third rhythm. You will start with the rhythm of joy. Then, you may play the rhythm of trance. But if you value the lives of your people, you must never, ever let your sticks find the third rhythm. The rhythm of oblivion. Kwame, his heart pounding with excitement, barely heard the warning. He held the cold, beautiful drum in his hands. He could already feel the power humming within it. The day of the New Yam festival arrived. The air was thick with the smell of roasting meat and spices. The village square was a sea of color and laughter. One by one, the drummers performed. They were good. They were great. The crowd cheered and danced with abandon. But then, it was Kwame's turn. He walked to the center, the strange, dark drum under his arm. A hush fell over the crowd. He looked at the sea of faces, at the judges, at his rivals. This was his moment. He took a deep breath and brought his hands down on the drum skin. Boom, bie bie boom. It was the rhythm of joy. The sound was unlike anything anyone had ever heard. It was rich, deep, and infectious. It didn't just enter your ears, it slithered into your bloodstream. It pulsed in time with your heart. A woman with a baby on her back felt her hips begin to sway. An old man with a bad leg felt a tremor in his feet. Within seconds, the entire crowd was on its feet, moving as one. Their laughter was louder, their smiles wider. They were not just dancing, they were compelled to dance. It was pure, unadulterated ecstasy. Kwame watched, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. This was it. This was the power he had craved. He played for an hour, and the crowd danced for an hour, never tiring, lost in the blissful command of the beat. He was declared the winner unanimously. He was carried on the shoulders of the villagers, a hero. The prize was his. The respect was his. But that night, as the festival fires died down, a strange thing happened. A small group of young men and women, still buzzing with the residual energy of the drum, came to Kwame's hut. Kwame, play for us again. Just a little. We cannot get the rhythm out of our heads. Kwame, flushed with victory and a newfound arrogance, agreed. Why not? He was the master of the rhythm now. He began with the rhythm of joy again, but the youths clamored for more. Something stronger. The one you played at the end. So, Kwame shifted. His hands moved faster, the beat becoming more complex and more hypnotic. Bie boom, bie boom, bie boom, bie boom. This was the rhythm of trance. The effect was immediate and unsettling. The dancers' joyful movements became stiff, robotic. The smiles vanished from their faces, replaced by blank, vacant stares. Their eyes glazed over. They were no longer dancing for pleasure, they were dancing because the rhythm commanded it. Their bodies were no longer their own. One of them, a girl named Amma, danced until the soles of her feet were bleeding, leaving dark red prints on the hard earth. She didn't seem to notice. She just kept dancing, her arms flailing in a jerky, unnatural pattern. A cold dread trickled down Kwame's spine. He remembered Old Man Kofi's warning. With a final, forceful beat, he stopped. The dancers collapsed where they stood, gasping for air, confused and terrified. They looked at their bleeding feet, their aching muscles, with no memory of how it happened. The village was no longer just impressed, they were afraid. Whispers began to circulate. What kind of drum is that? What magic has Kwame brought among us? But the memory of that addictive, powerful rhythm was a poison in their veins. They feared it, but a part of them craved it. Kwame, now an outcast in his moment of triumph, hid the drum in his heart. He was terrified of it. But a darker, a more possessive part of him couldn't bear to destroy it. It was his greatness. It was his power. A week later, the village elders, led by a stern woman named Mami Water, confronted him. Kwame, Mami Water said, her voice like grinding stones. That thing you have brought here is an abomination. You will bring it to the sacred grove at dawn tomorrow. We will return it to the earth from whence it came. Kwame agreed, his head bowed in shame. But inside, the ambition and pride, now twisted into something dark and defiant, festered. They wanted to take his power. They wanted to return him to being ordinary, forgotten Kwame. He could not allow that. That night, as the moon was high and full, casting long, skeletal shadows, he had a mob outside his hut. The youths he had entranced, now gaunt and hollow-eyed, were there. But they were not themselves. Their bodies moved with a twitchy, restless energy. Play, they chanted, their voices a dry, rustling chorus. Play the drum, Kwame. Play the final rhythm. Play it for us. They began to break down his door. Terrified, cornered, and with that dark part of his soul taking over, Kwame made his choice. He grabbed the drum. He ran out into the village square, the mob shuffling and jerking behind him. The entire village was waking up, coming out of their huts, their faces pale with fear in the moonlight. Stop this, Kwame! Mami Water screamed. But it was too late. The defiance, the fear, and the twisted love for his own power consumed him. He looked at the faces of the people who wanted to take it all away from him, and he made his decision. He raised his drumsticks. I will give you a rhythm you will never forget, he yelled, his voice cracking with madness. And he began to play the third rhythm. The one Old Man Kofi had forbidden. The Rhythm of Oblivion. The sound that came from the drum was not music. It was a sonic disease. It was a dry, rattling, percussive pulse that seemed to suck the air from the lungs and the warmth from the blood. Tik 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 tik. Tik tik teka tik. The effect was instantaneous and horrific. The mob that had been chasing him froze for a second. Then, their bodies began to convulse. Their bones cracked and popped as their limbs twisted into impossible angles. Their vacant eyes rolled back into their heads until only the whites showed. They were no longer people, they were marionettes with their strings cut and tangled, being jerked about by a malicious, unseen puppeteer. But it didn't stop with them. The sound rippled out across the village square. The elders, the children, the mothers clutching their babies, all were seized by the rhythm. Mommy Water tried to run, but her legs betrayed her, performing a stiff, grotesque parody of a dance. A man tripped and fell, but his body kept twitching and slapping against the hard ground in perfect time with the beat. The village became a cacophony of snapping tendons and the sickening thud of flesh hitting earth. They danced until their muscles tore. They danced until their bones broke. They danced, their faces frozen in silent screams, until their hearts burst within their chests, one by one, like overripe fruit. Kwame played on, a madman lost in the terrible power he had unleashed. He saw the horror around him, but he could not stop. The rhythm now controlled him as well. His arms moved of their own accord, his hands pounding the drum skin relentlessly. He saw Amma, the girl who had danced until her feet bled, now dancing until her legs bent backwards at the knee. He saw a strong hunter punch himself in the face over and over again, his knuckles bloody, his nose shattered, his movements perfectly in time with the tik tik teka tik. The festival of life had become a dance macabre of death. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, a final, sickening crack echoed from Kwame's own wrists. The bones had shattered from the force of his own playing. The drum fell to the ground. Silence. A terrible, thick, suffocating silence. Kwame looked up, his arms hanging uselessly at his sides. The village square was a graveyard of contorted bodies. Not a soul was left alive. Not a bird sang. The only movement was the slow settling of dust. He had gotten everything he wanted. He was the only drummer left. His was the only name anyone would remember. The legend of Kwame and his cast drum. He stumbled through the carnage, the weight of his actions crushing him. He saw Old Man Kofi standing at the edge of the clearing, his face a mask of profound sorrow. "You were warned, child," the old man said, his voice barely a whisper. "The rhythm of oblivion does not stop the dance. It only stops the dancer." And as the sun rose fully, Kwame realized the final, cruel twist of his curse. Inside his head, the rhythm of oblivion continued to play. Tik tik teka tik. Tik tik teka tik. It would never stop. He was a prisoner in his own body, his mind forced to dance to the hellish beat for all eternity, surrounded by the physical proof of his ambition. He threw his head back and screamed, but no sound could ever hope to drown out the drumming in his soul. The eerie music from the beginning fades back in. And so, the village of the Brown River was silenced forever. But they say on quiet nights, when the moon is full, if you listen very closely, you can still hear a faint, phantom rhythm echoing from the empty huts. A dry, rattling beat. A warning. What do you think? Was Kwame a victim of his own ambition, or was he a vessel for an ancient evil that was simply waiting to be unleashed? Let me know in the comments below. His hunger for greatness consumed not just him, but everyone around him. A chilling lesson that some prices are too high to pay, and some rhythms should never be played. Don't forget to subscribe to Safari of Tales and hit the bell icon so you never miss an. Until next time, tread carefully on the old paths.